Good morning, Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services, and we're back with another musician shed, a little differently than what we normally do. Okay, verifying that I can be heard because I do at times forget to check my levels. Give an opportunity for those who are early risers on a Saturday morning like me, chance to pop in, giving a preview as to what's going to be happening in the month of May 2024 for those who are watching the replay on my YouTube site. I realized that I've got a lot of musicians who follow me on Facebook, and maybe at the times that I'm on YouTube, they don't get a chance to pop over. There'll be some live settings there, and there'll be mainly a lot of videos, but I want to give a preview. I'm very sensitive, and I use the word very sensitive, when I see posts from younger musicians who have the unfavorable experience of having older musicians not share tech, techniques or chords or uh, styles that they can use in their personal playing, and from the older musicians or the OGs as we age accept. So I always am disappointed. Number one, that scenario still exists. I experienced that back in my younger days, and I would hope that it had gotten better. Apparently, as I see comments pop up, it hasn't. So this is my way of making amends for the guys of my generation. I'm 68 now, so I've got over 50 years of experience playing on a Hammond organ. As you can see, I don't have a Hammond organ here, but I do believe in the virtual organ as being a practice place. And I'm also very big on technology. I have been my entire life. My father was a TV repairman, had his own business. So at the age of 9, he made sure I didn't lay in the bed on a Saturday morning, but got up to work with him, and also learned how to repair televisions and be in the electronic age. So anything with electronics, be it computers, be it video, be it music, from an electronic standpoint, yes, I did learn how to repair Hammond organs also. So that's why I am well versed not on just playing a Hammond organ, but when it breaks, how to bring it back into a operational state. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. I'm delaying a little bit to give those who are early risers and who are on Facebook a chance to come over and join in. So I always encourage the older musicians, us guys that have done this for decades, not to hold back when a newer musician asks a question. Remember your days. Now, maybe you weren't treated fair, and that trauma has followed you. The trauma that followed me was that no musician wanted to show me what they were doing. They would hide their hands, turn away, stop playing, close all the drawbars so I couldn't see their quote unquote God-given settings. And that trauma followed me even up to this day, where I made a promise I would never hide hands, hide chords, not show the drawbar settings that I'm using if I had an opportunity to answer a question from a new musician seeking only to get an understanding. As you can see, I've got a little window there that is shaking around a bit. I have a window here. There it is. That is in the background. As I say, I'm very big on the use of technology, and I'm even bigger on the use of artificial intelligence. For those that are afraid of it, good luck getting through the next 5 to 10 years, because you're going to find out that it's going to be the guiding part of your life. I used it for what it was designed for, to get information that I can get readily without having to go thumbing through books or asking someone. So look at it as an extension of knowledge and use it for that. So I have pulled up, I'll just bring it up a little bit for those that are coming in. This is from ChatGPT. Make sure I get it to a good size and I don't cover myself up. I asked ChatGPT, give me 10 things a church musician should do to practice on a Hammond organ. Now, what does artificial intelligence know about a Hammond organ? Probably more than I do, as far as if you were going to be instructing someone virtually and not there with them, and right off the bat they ask, well, how should I practice? Well, this is what artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, came up with, and I have to agree with all 10 because I do all 10 of these. Number 1, manual dexterity. Practice finger exercises to improve agility and precision on the keyboard. Techniques like, here we go, scales, arpeggios, chromatic runs can be beneficial. If you've watched any of my videos, if you saw my presentation yesterday on why do musicians practice, you see that I had on there, practice your scales. I called it chords and progressions for piano. But for an organ, the artificial intelligence ChatGPT says practice chromatic runs, arpeggios can be beneficial. Now, what are the chromatic runs? Chromatic runs. Now, you don't see my hands, but those are chromatic runs. Let me see. I was doing that as a youngster, practicing on my father's Hammond C3 that he had in his repair shop, and not knowing that that would be well, used to not an example, a suggestion 50 years later, or 60 years, well, when I started playing the organ when I was 12, over 50 years later, by an artificial, and again, the artificial intelligence only has what's inputted, and then it takes all that information and puts it into a form of a statement for a requester. Expression and dynamics. Experiment, this is number 2, experiment with the various drawbar settings and expression pedals to understand how to create a range of dynamics and expression in your playing. Now, the expression pedal is one of the, let me just put that out of the way so there you go. Expression pedal, you can't see it here on my virtual organ setup. That right there. I have a thing about order. Get moving. I have an expression pedal attached to my keyboard, which is allowing me to simulate what an organ could sound like. That is the expression pedal that you're hearing. The loudness and the softness. That is a, what is that? How can I put it? An advantage that the organist has over many instruments, in that they just use their feet to determine how loud they're going to sound. Now, let me see, my drawbar settings are working. Okay, they are working. I have a controller that controls all my drawbars. When an organist sets up his settings, he or she will be looking for a particular sound to emulate. Now, that's not the tremolo or the Leslie, that is my foot moving. That allows them to do expressive playing. You want to call it emotional playing, then we can call it that. be able to use all the parts of your body. I often say when you're playing the organ, you're not just using both hands, but you're using both feet at the same time in concert or in symphony with what sound you are looking to get out. Yes, I'm doing what all the old organists do. I'm hiding my drawbar settings. I'm just having a joke. But when you go and you look for the actual information that is readily available on the internet, you will find you don't have to be prodding musicians after a service for, well, how do you do that, or how do you make it sound like that, or you got your camera out and you're videotaping them, but when you get back home to your keyboard and you pick the organ emulation, you get frustrated because you can't emulate that same sound that you hear them playing. Yes, I know there are musicians who are pushing a certain software that emulate a Hammond organ. I'm currently on the native instrument Hammond BX3, I believe it's called. I always get it crossed up. Hammond X3B or Hammond B3X, that is, Hammond B3X. I used to do there was another version they were using. I still have the software, it's just that the operating systems don't support it anymore. But I've been an actual participant in using the sound of the Hammond organ in some of the productions that I've done, because I was raised on a Hammond B3. As much piano playing as you see me doing or doing the keyboard, I'm really an organist. If I had a choice, the organ would be first, only because that's where I cut my teeth on building chords with both hands, using double manuals, using my feet as quickly as I would use my left hand for bass, finding those tones by setting the different drawbars in conjunction with where my foot pedal is, and my chord placement is where I cut my teeth musically in preparation to be able to play for a church. No, when I started playing for a church, I wasn't an organist. I played the piano. The organ had 3 or 4 people already assigned to it. So there's no sense for me to try to fight to get on the Hammond organ when there's a Steinway piano sitting there untouched. So I lamented to play and enjoyed playing the piano. I still do. Put me on a wooden piano and I'm happy as long as it's in tune. And if it's not in tune, I'll get out my tuning kit and tweak it up if I have to. But the organ is really my number one choice of instrument, because it puts my mind at its highest state. Some folks may say, well, it's hard to play the piano. No, it's harder. 3 times, 4 times as hard to play the organ, because you have got to be in constant motion. I used to get a lot of workout playing the organ on Sundays when I did play. I basically would actually sweat out of my clothes. I would play so hard because of all the preparation, all the movement, just to get through a 2.5, 3-hour service. But the organ player has to be conscious. First, number one, is the organ it doesn't need to be serviced. Are the foot pedals working? Are there broken strings, springs? Are all the drawbar wires broken in the back? Again, being raised up as a assistant to a Hammond organ technician, I learned how to get a soldering iron out and go back and resolder wires that are broken. I actually broke keys playing as a child on my father's organ. I thought I was going to get a whooping. I didn't, but I did break the key swinging, playing around it. So I learned you can't just mess around an organ and not damage something. And even in the playing of the organ, I learned about how if it's not maintained properly, you'll get these strange humming sounds out of it when you turn certain controller knobs, which you don't see here. Actually, they give you a virtual one. Let's see if I can move it. The vibrato knob and the different set. I'm going to shift it here. There we go. You see it moving on your left, and you hear how the sound changes when I move it. Let's put a setting there. Bring that up. And I'm going to move that knob, vibrato knob. You should have heard that change. Move it again. Each time I move it, you hear the sound change. It'll sound mellow, it'll sound bright, it'll get dull sounding. Those are all particular settings that were designed to emulate what a real pipe organ would sound like with wind, air being blown through it. I have my favorite, which is, let me see if I get this to get to it. There we go. That's my favorite setting right there. Let me make sure that's it. No, it's not. See, I messed up now where I normally have it set. I'll hear it though. That's not it. We'll go with C1 for now. Okay, that sounds like where it should be. No, it should be 3. That's what it should be, 3. For this virtual instrument, on your actual Hammond organ, the settings may be a little bit different. But the idea is that to get comfortable, let's make sure I don't miss anybody who's joined us, you'll get comfortable with what you're hearing based upon how well serviced the instrument that you're playing is. Now, the one thing about the electronic world is that you never have to worry about the organ being out of tune or the tubes being shot. Some guys like that raspy sound. There are settings on this software which you can't see here. If I were to go switch to it to see what happens if I switch to it. Okay, because of how I've got my screen set up, you don't see it exactly. But that is the Leslie cabinet. In fact, let me do this. Let's go to this page. Because this is all about understanding what the organ is. We're just going to bring in another look at it. Give me a chance to bring up another camera view. There we go. So for those who are not familiar with organ technology, again, this is the software I use, the Hammond B3X. Yeah, I am sensitive about how things look on my page. That is the 122 cabinet that they are emulating. As you can see, they've got the different settings for wattage, gain, input. You won't find this on your real organ, but you will find an image of what this cabinet looks like. So if I were to switch over to a particular cabinet for a particular sound, as you can see, I am able to do that with a computer organ. You can't do this with a real organ, picking the mic settings to give you particular sounds. Switch the sound. I have my favorite, which is the default one. That's my favorite one to use. And sometimes I will, come on now, be nice. My mouse is very sensitive on this computer. Get away from there. Sometimes I will kick up the lows a bit and the mid to support where my foot pedals are. Keep the gain where it's set. And the 122A piano. But this is what software gives you. And of course that's the full look. So now you can see the foot pedals. And yes, I have my settings so that I'm doubling the bass foot pedals with the lower manual to give that added sound. There you go. Who's joined us? This is what you can do with technology. Of course, you see my drawbars. I don't have two keyboards attached to it. I tried that once, and there was some cross issues with the USB devices. I haven't found a affordable dual manual keyboard that I can justify the cost for. So I use just a top manual for the actual lessons that I give. Let's see. And of course, you see the Leslie switch there on your bottom left. And you see the expression pedal moving. So when you're doing the organ, as I said, you've got so many hands in motion, so many adjustments that you're flying through just to find that optimum sound for a particular part of a song that you're going to wind up changing again anyway, because as the song dynamics change, for an organist, you change your dynamics while you're playing. If it sounds like it's too high or too muddy, you start adjusting drawbars. You find the one that's optimum for the sound you want, and you start adjusting them one at a time while you're playing until you find what you want to hear. Now, what some of the older organists would do is they would come in on the night before, they've practiced, and they've made their settings that they're going to use primarily through the service, and then they hide that setting. And most times they don't even write it down. But if somebody comes in and moves it, they are pissed that next morning. Who touched the organ? Because I would hear that. Because now they got to try to remember that particular sound, not realizing that their ear, the response in their ears will change from the time they leave that organ, and then they start absorbing the day-to-day sounds. Their ears are going to change. So when they come back, nobody can touch those settings, but it'll sound differently to them. Organ players have a very intuitive ear. When you hear this sound and you go away and you start absorbing someone talking, the street noises, a baby crying, all of a sudden your ear response frequencies change. You can come back to that organ and you go, don't sound right. But nobody touched anything. That's how sensitive the ears of an organist should be. Should be that sensitive. If it's not, then as I often say, if you've got to tweak up, if you've got to do this, this is just my opinion. If you've got to do this to feel that the organ sounds right, you need to get your ears checked. This is full out blasting, no modulation, no way that you can attenuate the different tones, which is what each drawbar has its own tone. If you can only play like this, that is like overkill for an organist. For me, for my ear, that's overkill. Very rarely, and I mean very rarely, when I played, would I go full out. First of all, I was conscious of those who were around the tone cabinets. I realized nowadays they put the tone cabinet right next to the musicians so they can feel what they're playing. In my days, the tone cabinets were suspended up in the air behind the choir members, and I was conscious that playing like this with choir members it's a no-no. They're sitting there like this if the organist played too loud. So I would purposely do a cascade effect, cascade setting, and then find what tones are not upsetting for the ears of those who are playing. Now again, my era of music was they played a lot of hymns, so I didn't need the organ to blast for hymns. If we were doing Praise Ye the Lord the Almighty, that's a little too loud, so I would bring it in a little bit. Again, this is my ears. Keep adjusting so I can hear it right. Still too many highs. Again, I gotta find it. It's a little too high. The electronic organs of this such really accentuate the high notes, where on a real organ, depending upon how the tones are attenuated on the inside amplifier of the organ, how well the speakers are, which is your highs, which is your Leslie tweeter, how far away the organ is from you. Again, all these things fell into play for me as a young organist. You know, if I have to tweak this up here to be able to hear that tone, then I might go this high. But with this setup, with headphones right on my head, it now sounds too loud for what I want to do. So I'll look for, in this setup, a nice comfortable spot, because it still gives me the same effect. I can hear all of these that I'm moving. I can hear that. I can hear that. I can hear that. I can hear that. I can hear that one. Oops, touched the wrong thing. Let's see. There we go. So this might be my setting for hymns. A little bit of highs at the top, good middle, and a bottom. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thou compassion, they fail not. Bring a little bit here. There we go. As thou hast been, thou forever will. Now I'm used to flying on a Hammond organ, but this is a weighted keyboard I'm on. So when I'm going to try to fly, it's going to be a challenge. So let's go back to, I'm not sure who's still here, but this is just a preview of what's going to be happening on my Sunday Church Organ Chords series for the month of May. Going back to ChatGPT, we left off with let me bring this back up. We left off with expression and dynamics. Registrations and voicing, I believe I was showing that where, let me do this so that I can still show some of what's here. Let's go back to there. That looks better. Again, I am a very explore different registration settings to familiarize yourself with the tonal possibilities of the Hammond organ. Experiment with various combinations of drawbars, and you saw me doing that as I was playing a hymn, how I was experimenting. What sound, if you start from nothing, do you start building your chords from here, or do you start from here? I always start from the lowest note. And I go halfway. Again, because this is virtual and I have headphones on, it's a lot more, I can hear it a lot more than I would normally in a normal church setting. Normally I would probably go to about 6, 7 for that one, and that would hold. That would not change for the entire service. I would bring this one up so that I can hear it gradually come in, but not equal. I would do the next one so I can hear it come in, gradual, maybe a little below that one, and then the fourth one. Now, some musicians love to start their playing from right here. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, this is what I would recommend. This setting is what I would recommend for the musician who's coming over from keyboard to organ, because these two drawbars here will more closely align with the sound you would get from your keyboard. Middle C here would sound like middle C on your piano. Let's bring up the piano. There we go. That's the piano on my keyboard. As you can see, middle C and this setting on the organ are exactly aligned. So if you practice, let me see. And if you brought up the organ, I don't know why I make a mistake. So those sounds both align. So if you practice your chords on the piano here, they will align. It's when you pull out the additional drawbars that it adds more, I'll call it lower tones in that same position, which require you to now shift your hands. And let's see. Now it's more thicker. So now you've got to shift in order to retain that same tone. So I always say for new musicians that you will start here, because that's where your hands are more comfortable being on, and it's a 61 note keyboard or manual versus the 88 or 76 you may be more familiar with. So once you go below C, technically you run out of keys But in this case, you will run into the actual, it's not shown here, but you run into the actual presets that will change the sound of the keyboard to predetermined sounds, which are of a pipe organ nature. So yes, experiment with different registrations. All right, I think this is better for what I want to be able to show. Foot pedal techniques. Foot pedals are quintessential. Well, I shouldn't say quintessential anymore. Back in my day, foot pedals were quintessential because you didn't have a bass player. This day and age, you have a bass player who would look at you very harshly if you started playing on your foot pedals. I'm glad I'm not in this era right now, because I would have to have the bass player fired, because he cannot think, for me, as fast as I can on my foot pedals. And I can play foot pedals not with all the tones that a bass player can do, but as far as to what I want to hear with my chords, I can move just as quickly. Now this is a 13. I'm playing on a 13 note foot pedal here, but you would think right now I'm using my left hand. And I gotta be careful not to play too hard so I don't damage it. But that's how my foot can move on virtual foot pedals. So for this, whatever song I'm doing, if I want to put a 1 with a 4 and do a sharp 1, a sharp 5, a flatted 7th, while I'm playing, while I'm thinking about the chords, the bass player could never read my mind and be in sync with me, which is why I'm glad I'm not in the era of you guys. But know that you are, as an organist, you have command of the entire service. The organ is what designated for me back in my day anyway, the actual church sound. Whenever you heard the organ player start up, that was the signal for a lot of churches back in my day that service was about to start. If they started with, let me see, key of F, we have come into this house. Gather in his name and worship. That was the signal that service is getting ready to start. So if you've got a praise team, back in my days you had song leaders that would start the service off just to bring in the minds of people. That was the key of when the service is going to start. The organ player goes into the 5. As you can see, an organist can hold that note for as long as he needs to. A bass player's got to keep strumming. I made that change in my mind while I was playing. A bass player could not follow me. So yes, I'm glad that I played during the time I did, because foot pedal work was quintessential to my playing. The lowest note in any structure of a chord is the bass note, piano or organ. It changes. It emphasizes. It gives a clarity as to where the next note is going to be coming from. When I go like this, there is an anticipation. This is the 5 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's an anticipation for a, resolution of this chord. So for me, the organ bass notes, the foot pedal work was one of the things I spent a lot of time on. How did I develop my foot pedal speed? By mimicking what my left hand does. Excuse me. I would do that religiously on a Saturday morning before anybody could bother me with the organ low in my father's TV shop. I would practice moving my left hand to see if I could match with my feet. Of course, this is not a real organ where I can do heel and toe. I'm doing a lot of toe with this virtual organ, but it was heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, toe. That was the technique I would use. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel. No, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, toe. Because now you're reaching the octaves. Of course, sitting on a bench. I'm on a nice, comfortable chair, a swivel chair now. So, and I have pedals that are not the regulation size for an organ. So a lot of adjusting that I am doing, playing on it. But it's still the same concept. Get to the note that you want to accentuate the chord you're playing and be in preparation for when you want to travel down that chord. Let me see. 6, 7, 1, 4, sharp to 4, 5, 3, 2, 3, 6. Again, I've never counted numbers, so I'm trying to practice counting numbers. This is the 2 in E flat, 2, 3, 4, 5, flat to 5 to the 3, flat to 3 to the 2, no, to the 3, right? There's the 4, sharp to 4, no, I'm gonna do flat to 6, to the 6. Wow, if I had to count numbers playing, I would be confused because I don't think in terms of numbers, I think in terms of chords and tones based upon a scale. If I'm in the E flat major scale, what are the chords I would normally use in E flat? That's how I think. What tones do I want to hear? Where can I find them? Based upon my practice schedule, where am I going to take it? Diminished to a minor, a major, major, diminished, major, a 7. What is this called? I've got the chordy app covered. See what that chord is. But that's the actual progressions based upon scales and block chords that I would use. My foot pedal would be designated to just follow along. Not lead, but follow. Follow, follow. When you're playing the Brooklyn style, you're thinking minors to a major. Minor, major. I don't have that E flat above. So yes, follow and support where the chords are going to be landing. Who joined us? All right. So back to ChatGPT's what I call it, ChatGPT's recommendations of how an church organist should practice, or an organist should practice on a Hammond organ. And we're on number 4, foot pedal techniques, and I demonstrated what that's all about. Improvisation skills is number 5. Now, you've seen me, let me back this up. You saw me doing improv. Improv is when you go outside of a pattern of music that you're doing. Jazz musicians use improv, I would say, 90% of the time when they're playing. If, let's pick a jazz tune, Autumn Leaves in B flat. Take out some of those high. So that's the pattern. This is improv. Back to the song. Improv a little bit. Bum, bum, bum. Improving on the chords, or they call reharmonizing. Now, church musicians improv all the time. Whenever someone is doing a hymn, they'll throw in some what I call trickery, or improv motion. Pick a song that would be traditional. Let me see, because I don't know what they're playing anymore. I know what they played back in my day. If you were doing I Surrender All, key of D flat. That's all improv. Versus the improv would be all the movement that you would do away from what I call the block chords. These are the block chords, which are like hymnal chords. Appropriate, yes, but somewhat bland in their approach. But when you go improv, there it is. As I tell you, I can hear the chord changes in my head, then I got to go and assign those notes to it. E flat 7, A flat 7th, straight D flat, ba-dum, ba-da-dum. And that is a jazz turn. Because I listen to big band jazz sound, it becomes a part of everything I do. And when I became a church musician, I introduced a lot of these movements when I played, where the skilled musicians would just do. I would go, and what is that? Right down the scale, but assign a chord. I surrender. Jazz turn. Now I could go straight or go here. Now I'm very big on the in hymns using those diminished turns, a diminished chord turn. The improv is one of the organist's greatest weapons because you're thinking on the fly, which will turn a pianist crazy because he cannot think as fast as the organist does. The bass player will just step back because he doesn't know where you're going. You're the only one, when you're the organist, who knows where you're going with your music. So if you're confused, you're going to throw everybody off. So if you're not certain what your improv skills are yet, keep it in the practice session. And then once you get it out of the practice session, and you do that by recording yourself playing familiar songs, then you'll be able to know, and you'll be able to intuitively understand when improv is necessary. Is improv necessary when someone is talking? No. Unless, of course, you're doing the talk music. Because it is about soloing. Improv is about you taking a solo in a musical piece, which means it's just you, everybody else backs off, and they will let you do what you've been practicing, what you've been honing or working on. During a service might be the wrong time for that. So pick your spots. Did I do a lot of improv? No, I didn't. I always found where was the service going and what was needed at the time. If melody was necessary for the part of the service, if they're doing, if they're singing an up-tempo hymn like Down at the Cross, then I may improv a little bit, but I mean a little bit. That's the extent of my improv. That's my another improv. As you can see, right down the scale. Glory to his name. A little bit of an improv. There it is still. You may get that improv from me. Glory to his name, precious name. That is the improv I would do in support of where the melody was going. Glory, glory to his. I may do this name, precious name. And as you can see, mine are very, very instinctively placed, still staying within the melody. There to my heart was the blood. as you can see, melody at the top. Why? So that I don't lose the singing. Bum, bum, bum. That is improv. But always in time and right with where the song is actually going. The Sunday church method really is about control and who has control. Now, in today's environment, you have praise teams who practice every step of the song so that nobody is out of harmony in what they're doing. Good or bad, in my day, I didn't have uh, that structure around me. It was the choir directress and the minister. So whoever started singing, I had to be musically prepared to support them. So there was no, we're going to sing this song, and we're doing this on the 6 and doing this on the 2, and then we're going to do a vamp here, and then we're going to do a reprise there. No, it was none of that. It was what's happening in the service. There were times when the directress would come in and change the song. We rehearsed 5 songs on the previous rehearsals, and they said they wanted to do one song, but a feeling came over. No, look, we're gonna do this song. So now I had to go in my mind. What key was it in? Because no one would tell me the key. I'd have to write that down if I didn't write it down. What the intro was, what the lead singer sounded like who practiced it, if they're using the same lead singer. And while the choir director is directing, they may change and leave off a verse and go right to the vamp because the song is running longer than it should. They want to get the service going. So sorry, my watch vibrates and shows me stuff. So as a organist, when you're the lead musician, you had that responsibility of being on point 110% of the time. You had to anticipate what might happen. Sometimes a lead singer would come in, oh, my throat is sore from the night before, wherever they were doing, and you'd have to lower the key by half a step or a full step on the fly. And on the organ, Hammond organ, there was no transpose button. So I would always practice in multiple keys within the range, never higher, always lower to be able to accomplish. Like if we were doing, let's see, what song would I have had to lower? If any song was in the key of D flat and it was considered, it had a high note for the lead singer, we'd have to take it down to either C or to B major. And then I would look and I go, B major? Yeah, just letting lower the song. Then I would go practice my scales. I go, okay, what am I gonna do? Okay, what chords are in this song? There's a 6 in it. There's this chord in there, this chord in there. It's gonna lead to this, and it's gonna lead to this. Okay, I'm ready. So depending upon what the song was, then I was prepared. If we were doing Center of My Joy and they wanted to lower the song, I have to remember this change. Let me see. There it is in B major. I know this is coming up because my thumb would signal where my next chord would be. Then my progressions. Then I know that there's a 7th in there, right? I know it's going to be on the 4. I know it's going to be a minor chord, a diminished chord. Go back to the major, diminish. There it is. C sharp, F sharp, B major. Then the chain. Right down the scale, because I practice chords all the time. Okay, so that's improv. Let's see what's coming up. Transposition. Okay, and you saw me doing that just now, where um, at any given moment you may need to change the key of a song. If someone is doing a solo, which is always fun, they say, "Oh, I want to do His Eyes on the Sparrow," and already you're thinking, "Okay, what? I hope they don't put it in the key of A major. I'm not sure where I sing," and then you're like, "Okay," so they start singing, and they go, "Okay, that's D major, A major." By the third note, you should hear where they are, because they give you the scale, and then your ears should tell you, if you practice in these keys, you know where it's going to go. You know it's going to go to the D major. You know it's going to diminish after that, and you know it's going to resolve and drop down. You know from right here they're going to go to an A sharp, A flat. Is it A flat? No, C sharp to F sharp. Diminished chord to a minor, and to that progression. Diminish, 7, turn on a half tone or the whole tone scale. Back to the A major with a turn flat 7th, diminish. So all of these chords and these chord names were not a part of my repertoire back then, but their tones were. And because I looked at where the scale was, because I practiced my own version of the number system, my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to the 1 or the 8, because I practiced that. Once I found what scale they were in, it was the matter of assigning the chords relative to the path of the melody. Transposition on an organ is a must for an organist, because you have, unless you practice in particular keys for particular songs, should a change come, you can't just hit a switch and change the tone. You have to be prepared, and that's something that you practice. Again, the 10 things that ChatGPT and AI information site says an organist, a Hammond organist, should practice. Continue. Number 7, I only asked it 10. I'm sure if I'd asked it 20, it would have given me 20 different things. Chord voicing and progressions, which you just saw me right there do. Chord voicing, progressions. If no one has ever explained to a younger or new musician what's the difference between chords and progressions, shame on you. Tell them what a chord is. Any 3 notes played in conjunction. That's a chord, that's a chord, that's a chord, that's a chord. Shame on you if you didn't tell them, or you did not know how to give the difference between a chord and a progression. A progression is a succession of chords played after one another. That is a progression. This is a progression. A chord with another chord following behind it. This is a progression. That is a progression. A succession of chords following, either descending or ascending, descending, descending. Those are progressions. So if no one has ever explained that to you, that is my definition. Now I'm sure I can go to ChatGPT or to a chord or to any reputable music book, and they'll give the theory definition of chord and progression. But in my understanding, as it comes to playing music as a youngster, and also taking music as an instrumentalist in a high school band, I could hear the motions, which is why in a lot of my music, you will hear constant motion, constant progressions. Left hand is doing the progressions, my right hand is doing soloing. Left hand is doing the progressions, my right hand is doing soloing or improvising, following the progressions. Now my right hand is doing progressions, going down, there it is, and up. My definition of chord substitution extensions to add color to the richness of your playing. Chord substitution is when I'm here and I go here and I end it here, versus ending on the 1, I end on a 6 chord. And you can't see the name of the chords because I've got this in the way. Let's see if I can pull that up to there. Again, I like to see order. Bring you down to right there. That's my brand. Okay. Chord progressions with voicings. Study different chord voicings, progressions commonly used in church music. What is church music in its essence? Hymns. That's where you're going to get the base of your chord progression. Now, I got my chord progressions from listening to jazz as a jazz band, the flat chords. But that did not mean I did not listen to the hymn playing also. What's a Kong in E flat? I come to the garden alone. F major. Put a 7th on there to the B flat. A 7. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking the hymn and I'm adding 7 chords to it to give it a different sound. And he, changing the chord, walks with me, adding a diminished chord, and he on the 7th chord. Now I'm still in the 5 on the bass, but look at all the chords I'm throwing around it. With me, and he, I know it's gonna go to the 2 with a B flat minor, walk it down, 9, and go back up, diminish. What is this? B minor 7, and the joy we share. Now I can go to as we tarry. Now I could go diminished, or I can go a 7th chord. Pick and choose. We'll go with the diminished chord. Or I could have gone with a B flat 7th. Depends on what I'm hearing. No other. This is Sunday morning organ chords. Has ever known. Now you go big fat jazz. He walks with me and he talks with 7. Tell me that I am his own. All that movement on all those chord tones are what you would hear in a jazz piece. And jazz turn, go Church of God in Christ. That's all I'm doing, sliding, holding the chord, letting it slide. No other. Let me see. Has ever known. Ba-da-dum. I had to hear it in my head first and then find the notes. B flat over A flat. And that is what is meant by experiment with various chord substitutions and extensions to add color and richness to your playing. Now, this is for the new musicians. I know I have professional church musicians out there who would not benefit from what I'm sharing right now because you already set in your chord structure, and that's great for you. Is when, and this is my snipe at the professional organists out there who allow musicians to videotape them playing but don't explain to them what they're doing so that they can take that videotape, go back to their homes and practice those same chord extensions that you use. So that's my end of my sniping at the guys who allow young musicians to videotape them and don't give an understanding. I've always been about explaining anything I do musically so that the next person up behind me is better equipped than I was. Number 8, ear training. Looks like we're running out of space here. Let me just readjust. The window here. Technology. I want to be able to show the chords. Repertoire development. Was that what I was doing? I was doing number 8. It was not ear training. There we go. Develop your ear by practicing sight reading hymns. Ooh, goodness. I just said a bad word. By sight reading hymns and other church music, focus on recognizing intervals, chord qualities, and melodic patterns by ear. As you see, each time I pick an example, I've picked a hymn or a gospel song, not one of your more contemporary songs, which have different interval patterns than what an organ technically should do. Yes, you can look at your praise songs and praise team songs and use that in place of a hymn, provided you play the melody. A lot of these songs have what I call congregational unison singing. I'm trying to think of some of the songs that I've done. I can't remember any of those. Usually when I do a viewer request song that is a praise type song, I have the ability to wash that song out of my mind and go on to the next one so it doesn't carry on. So one is not coming to mind. So let's go with I Give Myself Away, because that one still, I taught that to the men's choir in the key of B flat. I change the key. So I'm hearing the tone. The hymn type songs allow you to center your ear on all of the chords. What does it say here? Developing your ear training to recognize an interval. What is the interval on that song? Now, it could be the 4 to the 1 or the 5 to the 1, the interval. But because it's unison singing, you can stay in the 1. But an interval would be the 5 to the 1. The 6 to the 7 to the 6 to the 5, or flat 7 to the 4. Those are the intervals that they're talking about. Hymns are very deliberate. You know where a hymn is going to go. A praise song, you're going to pick a number, 1. 5, 4, there it is, for the 5 chord. The 1. Now you may go to the 5, to the 6, to the 5, to the 4. That is how the CCM style music develops their chords. They keep everybody, musicians, in lockstep so that nobody does improv. That's my interpretation of what the CCM style does. It locks you into a pattern. And if you deviate that pattern, everybody will know it. Even the singles will know that's not what we rehearsed. Where in the free will or freelance church days, there it is. And I don't want to mess up any young organist's structure that you're getting from another content creator. This is what I've taught traditional music, where you take the melody, you assign the chords that are available to you, which is in your palette of music, which is why I'm doing the series, is closing out for the month of April, building your own chord palette so that you can have alternative chords from a church music standpoint to help enhance what you're doing. That is having a palette of music available to me is what I get across to young musicians, new musicians who are navigating the treacherous road of playing for a church. And it is treacherous, where if you don't sound good, they'll have you replaced by the next musician behind you, or they'll slide you off. I came up during the era where musicians would slide each other off the organ if they feel that they weren't accomplishing what they knew. Again, I've watched that. Did I ever get slid off? Yes, I got slid off by Timothy Wright because there was a soloist who was going to sing a song, and I'm on the organ because I'm the designated musician for that service. And the soloist says, well, I see Reverend Timothy Wright, he knows my style of music. So I got slid off. Now, did I feel bad? No, because I knew Timothy Wright as an organist. I've watched him, I've watched his style, and I recognized, again, I'm very intuitive in assessing a situation that I'm involved in, that there was a preference by that singer. Later on in my years, I got that same experience where there was a singer at another church where I happened to have been attending, and that singer was singing a solo, and they requested, I want Brother Sam to play for me. He knows my style. So I got to experience that. And I knew what the other musician may have been feeling. But because I can play behind a soloist and not in front of them, and that soloist has had me play for them in the past, it wasn't like, hey, get off the organ. It was like, hey, I got you. I understand. I know what you're feeling right now, because I experienced that. It is unnerving if you don't know the musician who you're being asked to replace, but in the midst of a service, that's where you don't want conflict. That person did not say, I should not say it was he, did not say, I'm not getting off the organ. This is my church. This is where I play. But he readily knew who I was, and because they've heard me play for a lot of services back in my day, we would visit a lot of churches. So I was noted as one of those Talberts. If you're from the East Coast area, the New York City area, when you hear the term, oh, another Talbert playing, because there was about 7 of us at that time, cousins and brothers that were all involved actively in not just one church, but in several churches. So it was not a slight against the musician. Don't remember what the song was. The song may have been, and it was a hymn that, it may have been I Surrender All, I'm not sure. But I made sure that I acknowledged the other musician in his position, at his church, at his skill set. And I didn't go up there and just start doing. No, I didn't go up there doing all of that. I was like, okay, what song are we singing? What key do you want to do? Okay, A flat. It may have been I Won't Complain. I said, okay, which is the jazz song. I Won't Complain is 100% jazz. Starts on a diminished chord. And you resolve to give a landing spot for the soloist to sing their next note, because that's their next note. Jazz turn. That is a jazz turn. That is not a hymn turn. That is a jazz turn. Jazz turn, which is the progression going down. A flat, down the scales, progressions down. A turn, 2-5-1, 2-5-1 on E flat, D flat. Now I generally do progression. This is my turn. Follow the melody. A jazz turn, 2-5-1. Progression down. Lining up the note for the soloist, which is what I generally like to do. Right down there with them. A little bit of improv. Stay right down there. Right there. And that's what I do. I give a landing spot for soloists because I make sure I know the melody of the song they're going to sing. But then jazz notes, which were a part of my repertoire, was not an issue for me. Progression. Tritones, down, chords. Now I can go down or I go back up. And I only learned those movements from listening to jazz musicians play. Jazz turns, these are not hymns. I know the A flat is coming, so I can go here. Now I can progress up. Turn on the whole tone scale. Now I can just drop it down if I want to. This is what they mean by selecting and practicing different tones, your different intervals that your ears have heard other musicians do, that you can apply to particular songs that you are very familiar with playing. You never want to get caught off guard by doing a chord tone you've never practiced, and then you get lost. I would call them home chords. If you know the home chords, that's a home chord. That's a home chord. That's a home chord. This is a home chord. Home chord, right? Because it's right in the home chord. A little bit out of home, just one note. Home chord, home chord, home chord. So if you know your home chords and you go outside of them, you get lost, you can always go back home. This is away from home. Right in the pentatonic scale. He's been good to out away from home. There's home, there's outside, diminished go. I can hear these changes because I would practice. This is away from home, but resolved home. I won't. This chord is away from home, but look how close you are to home. Just half a step. Come plain. B major, B flat major, minor 6, and resolve to a straight A flat chord. These are the tips that older musicians did not share with me either verbally or when they were playing. I had to hear that, go back home and try to figure out what key were they in, number one, how many notes and changes did I hear. The more skilled they were, the less chords I could retain. But again, once I got in the books, in the music books that showed chords, and then I began to go back to those songs I would hear and go, okay, that's what a seventh chord sounds like. But that's what a major seventh chord sounds like. Oh, and the inversions, oh, that's the chord he used. He took this and played it there in an inversion. Okay, and we'll commit it to memory, and then we'll do the same chord in every key. Trying to remember my chain. There it is. There it is. Just so I can hear what it sounds like in different keys, so that if I change the key and want to use that same chord, I'd have no problem finding it. Well, I'm doing this longer than I wanted to do, but this is what ChatGPT recommended. That's where we stopped on. Number 8, ear training. Continuing. Number 9, repertoire development. Build a diverse repertoire of hymns, anthems, preludes, postludes, and other church music. So yes, for an organist, an organ is synonymous with hymns, which is why you see me so comfortable when I'm playing a hymn I do know or a hymn I don't know. I can, once I understand the path of the melody and the generic chording of the hymn, then I can apply all of the interludes and all of the modes and all of that to that particular hymn in any key. Again, have I been in E major yet? I know I've been in A. If I'm in E major and doing holy, 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 A, Lord God Almighty. B major, early in the C minor, C sharp minor, morning, F minor, no, B major. There's my F sharp with a 7 to the, walk it up. Now I know the path. Holy, holy, holy. That's that preset I hit in mistake. And my C minor, C sharp minor, or D flat minor. E7, E7, yeah. A major. Now we're gonna go to a C, D flat 7th. Diminished. F sharp minor. This is the home chords, B major, and back to E major. So once I get comfortable with the past and the home chords and the jazz tones I can add to it, now I can solo. B, turn 2, 5, 1. F sharp. Diminished chord. B major. F sharp. B7. Walk it up the minor. Now I can change my chords. Let me see. Full 7th. Walk it down. Walk it down to 7. Walk it up. My progressions of F sharp, A flat 7 or G sharp 7. And it's a 2, 5, 1. Because I know I'm going to the D flat, in this case the C minor. I'm going to go from a D chord, D7 to a C flat, to a D7 to the C sharp, D flat. Diminish. F sharp over E. A. That's the chord I want. Home chords first. It's the chord I want. I gotta find it now. the chord. Because it's going to resolve right here. It's the chord before this. There it is. That's the chord I want. And switch over to F. So yes, even I will struggle for the chords I hear if I don't find where that chord tone would reside. C major, D, and E. Don't know how many are still here. I don't see anybody popping up, but this will stay up. So the last is the most important: performance practice. Practice performing church music in a variety of settings, including solo performances, accompanying choirs, or congregational singing, collaborating with others. And I see I'm missing some of the bottom. Let's pull this down. There we go. Number 10. Reading with Sam. Practice performing church music in a variety of settings, including solo performances. Musicians don't like to solo. They need a group around them. For some reason, I watch and I go, everybody seems to pick one song to solo on when you have thousands, I'll say hundreds of songs that you could solo on. But when you have a mindset of, I need another musician next to me to play melody so I can just chord, why not play melody and chord, which is what I instruct in. Melody is based on a scale. Chords are based on a scale. Progressions are a bunch of chords played in succession. So once you adopt that concept, again, not change what you currently do, but add to it, now you can take any song. If I want to do E flat or C minor, depending upon how you want to look at it. Our God is an awesome God. All in the scales. Now it's really in E major and in C minor, which means you can borrow chords from both of them. Are we in E flat or are we in C minor? Yes, we are. That's an easy way to explain it. We're in both of those keys at the same time. So if you know the chords of E minor and you know the chords of E flat major, mix and match. E major, C minor, C minor, or E major, because both keys use this chord. E flat major with the 7, 2, 5, 1. E major. Could be in both, but it's in the scale of E. It's in the scale, this chord is in the scale of C minor. This chord is in the scale of C harmonic minor, which is why you have two minor scales. So that's if you want to pick a praise song to solo on. Not a lot of chords there, which means you can now improv. Using your expression pedal. The jazz scale. Progressions. You can go to the major C. And you can end in the E flat major if you want. And give you a nice cadence to it. And end on a nice jazz tone. What does it say? Including solo performances, accompanying choirs, congregational singing is one of the best ways that you can demonstrate the power of the organ, where you can do the bounce. Let's see if I can set up my congregational patch, because I always loved congregational singing. That allowed me to play jazz any way I wanted to. So I'm going to pop in my any way I wanted to. So I'm going to pop in my, let's see, my congregational. Let's see if I get it too loud. Bring the tempo up for real Sunday night church. Is that too fast for praise the name of Jesus? E flat. Maybe a little fast. So let's change our drawbar settings a little bit to get them more deeper. Now, if your congregation was like mine on a Sunday night where they didn't want to stop clapping because they enjoyed the music, then you would give them jazz. And you would break it up and improvise. Give them the bounce. Straight jazz. So yes, that would be, let that pass out. That would be Sunday night in my neck of the woods. I wanted to, just pulling out some of these. Okay, so that would be Sunday night church for me. Again, it wasn't at 166 beat per minute like the musicians today like to beat it, but it was congregational friendly. It got them foot stomping, hand clapping on a congregational type of song, and I gave them full, flat out jazz. Why? Because the tempo and the song selected unison singing lended me to be able to all the things I would practice at home to demonstrate and perform them. I believe performance practice. There we go. Where were we? Accompanying choirs or congregational singing and collaborating with other musicians. Now, unfortunately for my era, I did not have musicians who were able to collab with me. We were in separate churches, and for some reason, every musician was homegrown, so they didn't like to go out and visit other churches. I even did a series or seminar and invited the 10 churches of musicians just to come in and let's sit and let's communicate, let's trade techniques, let's see what our choirs are learning, let's see what we can share with one another. And I think only 2 musicians showed up that knew me well. The other 8 didn't. And I said, okay, I understand that. The musicians are very territorial. Not only will they hold their music close to their vest, but they will hold everything, how they work with their choir members. Again, I'm always, as you see me, being very open with what I demonstrate. I was like that my entire life as a musician. And I understand people are individuals before they are a group. Lastly, and communication with the audience or congregation. So generally, when you want to communicate with the audience, that is in a performance mode where you are the star of the show as an organist. But this is part of the things that you should practice, to where sometimes you might be the musician that starts the service and the praise team people are not there. You don't not play because the praise team people may be holed up in traffic, waiting on a parking space, or for God forbid they didn't feel well that morning and did not alert you that they're not coming up. That doesn't mean you don't have a repertoire of music that you can play so that the congregation doesn't become restless. They'll start talking, jamming, they'll be haggling on one another, making a lot of noise. Generally what I would do is I would start just playing a song that would bring everybody's minds in, and then look to see who's going to be coming in to support me, because I'm not going to sing. I'm not a singer. I would always marvel at those organists who could sing and play, because that wasn't me. Start singing a song, I'm right there with you. But ask me to sing a song, no. I'll solo the song, and I'd always pick something that's going to bring the mind of people in. Lord, Prepare Me to Be a Sanctuary was number 1 for me, in the key of F. Melody to bring in the minds of the people. melody first so they can all get centered. Basic chords. Then I bring in the chord. Turn down my highs a little bit. Bring a little mellow in there. Get that diminished chord in there. The jazz chord, turn. Adjust my highs and my middles. Change my bass positioning. I'll be living. These are inversion jumps. Change the chord. Hopefully the congregation will start singing, because I'm not going to sing. Change chords. That'll be sanctuary. Progress down. Progress up. Pure and to the minor G. Progress up on the chord and resolve down. Tried and true. Diminish up. A major seventh up. There's the major seventh, but chords around it. With thank. Go to the minor on the sixth. Diving, but then resolving up. I'll be living. Now what do they call this? Improv. Getting ready for the next note. Sanctuary. The repeat. Lord for you. Same chord but lower. Sanctuary. Lord for you. Straight E flat, or E flat 7, or E flat 7, down to a D7. Sanctuary. Change my tone to more subtle, Lord. Now you can go either G, do a diminish, and resolve on the F. Bring your expression pedal down. Turn your highs down. This is what the church organist has at their advantage. Not only to be able to change the tone of the organ as an instrument, but to affect, as some say, the atmosphere of a church service. Now, yes, in a jazz world, the B3 organ is a preferred instrument for the lead musician. When I look at the Nord organ and those that purchase the Nord organs and they always want to show them off, I always marvel at the fact that they put a Hammond B3 patch with drawbar settings in that instrument. Why? Because even they recognize the power of a Hammond organ in a stage setting. Even this keyboard has organ patches on it that I don't use when I'm doing productions, because I need that feel of what an organ sounds like when I can adjust the various drawbar settings. But I will use it just as an actual filler, but not as the main instrument. I'm not sure how many are still here with me. I haven't seen anyone come in, But this brings me to the close of, it's supposed to be a quick one. I gotta stop using that word quick. Let me get rid of this window. Yes. Introduction as to what I will be covering. Now, I will be using that Chat GPT information. It's saved now on my computer. I will be using that same information on my presentation on my YouTube channel, because this is what I did not receive as a new musician. Not that I was uncommon to the organ. I knew about the drawbar settings, but when I was younger, at age 12, when I would ask or when I would look and they would begin to do this on me so that I couldn't see what drawbar settings they had up, that kind of, it did something to me. Even at 12, that's when you're in that age, especially a young man, you're in that age of discovery. Gee, I would like to have gone home and on my dad's B3 or his C3, he had both of them there, depending upon what he was working on. Emulate that same sound and see what was the musician doing that would stop playing and close that down. And yeah, it left a traumatized state in me that said, if I ever get to the point where I can learn to play well enough to be accepted in the sphere of church musicians, if another young person would walk up to me and ask me, what am I doing? I would never hide, number one, my chords, number two, my drawbar settings. I would never, and I haven't done that yet. In fact, I am a retired. For those who don't know my history, I served as a church musician, three denominations: the Church of God in Christ, the Baptist denomination, and the United Methodist denomination. A total of 48 years consecutively straight. There were no breaks. When I changed over into the different ministries, it was leaving one service one Sunday, the next Sunday in another service. In fact, the only time I got legitimate vacations was in the United Methodist Church. They made me take off. They said, no, you're not going to, we don't care where you go, but you're not coming here. We believe in giving our musicians 2 weeks vacation paid, thank God. And I appreciated that. But even then, I was concerned with who was covering for me. And if they couldn't find someone to cover for me, I actually created CDs of me playing the traditional United Methodist hymns, that if they couldn't find someone to cover for me, they could have me on a CD. And yes, there were members who thought I was there, because when I played in the Methodist church, it was on a Allen pipe organ, which I loved because I didn't have to worry about drawbars at tab settings, behind a wall. So the only thing I could see was the minister and the choir. Could never see the congregation. Took me a while to get used to that, but then I loved it because I could be fully dressed in a robe or in my uniform and have a nice beverage to my right, and no one knew it. But it did not change the chords I would use. It did not change how I would anticipate what I could hear from the choir members or what I could hear from the congregation. It was still the concept of performance once I had practiced and prepared myself throughout the week. So this is what I share with new musicians who are transitioning to the organ. Yes, you have your favorites, and that's good. My favorites was whatever album I was learning. So if I heard an organ player being prominent in any song, then I would learn what that organist was playing. As a youngster, being involved in the church. As I said, I did my first 9 years in church music ministry on a Steinway piano, which was a blessing, because to play on an instrument, a 6-foot Steinway. So I had that rich Steinway sound that you hear me play all the time. I have a love for the actual Steinway sound, which is why I emulate that here on my keyboard. Same chord structures that I would use on the organ, I would use on a piano. The organ sound is in the actual background. So these are the things that were that were very prominent in my, bring those sounds down, prominent in my bringing up, upbringing, and my the mindset I had as an organist. If I'm on a piano, then I'm on a piano. Because the piano brings a whole different touch than just playing the organ, especially when you understand that you have access to 88 keys versus the 61 on the organ. Would I approach the song differently, like Lord Prepare Me on the piano? Of course. Can't do that on the organ. Every time I reach over and hit the wrong key below my piano, the preset's clicking for the organ. Tried and true. Can't get that chord. With thanksgiving, I give sanctuary, Lord, they were all instruments, and the beauty of that instrument comes out in the hands of the person who has, as the Bible says, knows how to play skillfully. Thank you for those who've been watching Sam Tobit Sound of Joy Music Services. I have been out here on the internet since 1999, but in the atmosphere or the mood of training musicians since 1992 in the New York City area. Again, I'm very sensitive about how things look. There we go. So I thank you for watching. As always, if you have any questions, that's why I'm here. Ask me while I am yet still in the land of the living, because when I am gone, you cannot ask me anything, but hopefully the internet and these mediums like Facebook will still hold the record of my explanations to not just those who are on Facebook now, but who will be on the Facebook in the future. Please share these videos with your musician friends so that they can also see if there's anything I've said that they can use to add to their repertoire. Sam Tobit, Sound of Joy Music Services. Thanks for watching, and be blessed the rest of this Saturday, April the 27th, 2024. Take care.